Are you a person? I know I am. I haven't seen the sun in years. Hey. It is a period of civil war. Rebel spaceships stripped from a hidden base have won their first victory against the evil Galactic Empire. During the battle, Rebel spies managed to steal secret plans to the Empire's ultimate weapon, the Death Star. An armored space station with enough power to destroy an entire planet. Pursued by the Empire's sinister agents, Princess Leia races home aboard her starship, custodian of the stolen plans that can save her people and restore freedom to the galaxy.
Did you hear that? They've shut down the main reactor. We'll be destroyed for sure. This is madness. We're doomed. There'll be no escape for the princess this time. What's that?
The Imperial craft has easily overtaken the Rebel blockade runner. The smaller Rebel ship is being drawn into the underside dock of the giant Imperial starship. 3PO stands in a hallway, somewhat bewildered. R2 is nowhere in sight. The pitiful screams of the doomed Rebel soldiers can be heard in the distance.
R2! R2-D2, where are you?
A familiar clanking sound attracts 3PO's attention, and he spots little R2 at the end of the hallway in a smoke-filled alcove. A beautiful young girl, about 16 years old, stands in front of R2. Isn't she 19 in the movie? Surreal and out of place, dreamlike and half hidden in the smoke, she finishes adjusting something on R2's computer face, then watches as the little robot joins his companion.
At last, where have you been? Stormtroopers
can be heard battling in the distance.
They're heading in this direction. What are we going to do? We'll be sent to the spice mine at Kessel or smashed into who knows what.
R2 scoots past his bronze friend and races down the sub-hallway. 3PO chases after him.
Wait a minute, where are you going?
Read the line.
Supposed to be me?
The narration line.
Vader squeezes the neck of the Rebel officer who struggles in pain. Sorry.
Are those transmissions you intercepted?
Vader lifts the Rebel off his feet by his throat.
What have you done with those plans?
Honorable officer. We intercepted no transmissions. This is a consular ship. We're on a diplomatic mission.
If this is a consular ship, where is the ambassador?
He choked him to death.
Commanders, tear the ship apart until you found those plans, and bring me an ambassador. I want her alive!
The lovely young girl huddles in a small alcove as the stormtroopers search through the ship. She is Princess Leia Organa, a member of the Imperial Senate for Alderaan. The fear in her eyes slowly gives way to anger as the muted crushing sounds of the approaching stormtroopers grow louder. One of the troopers spots her.
There she is, Sacristan.
Leia steps from her hiding place and blasts a trooper with her laser pistol. She starts to run, but is felled by a paralyzing ray. The troopers inspect her inert body.
She'll be all right. Inform Lord Vader we have found a prisoner.
R2 stops before the small hatch of an emergency life pod. He snaps the seal on the main latch and a red warning light begins to flash. The stubby Astro robot works his way into the cramped four-man pod.
Hey, you're not permitted in there. It's restricted. You'll be deactivated for sure.
R2 beeps something to him.
Don't call me a mindless philosopher, you overweight glob of grease. Now come out before somebody sees you.
R2 whistles something at his reluctant friend regarding the mission he is about to perform.
Secret mission? What plans? What are you talking about? I'm not going in there.
R2 isn't happy with 3PO's stubbornness, and he beeps and twangs angrily. A new explosion, this time very close, sends dust and debris through the narrow sub-hallway. Flames lick at C-3PO, and after a flurry of electronic swearing from R2, the lanky robot jumps into the life pod.
I'm going to regret this.
On the main view screen, the life pod carrying the two terrified robots speeds away from the stricken rebel spacecraft.
There goes another one.
And I'm the one next, right? Hold your fire. There are no life forms. It must have been short-circuited. R2 and 3PO look out at the receding Imperial starship. Stars circle as the pod rotates through the galaxy.
That's funny. The damage doesn't look as bad from out here.
R2 beeps an assuring response.
Are you sure this thing's safe?
Princess Leia is led down a low-ceilinged hallway by a squad of armored stormtroopers. Her hands are bound, and she is brutally shoved when she is unable to keep up with the briskly marching troopers. They stop in a smoky hallway as Darth Vader emerges from the shadows. The sinister Dark Lord stares hard at the frail young senator, but she doesn't move.
Lord Vader, I should have known. Only you could be so bold. The Imperial Senate will not sit for this. When they hear you've attacked a diplomatic...
Play games with me, Your Highness. You weren't on any mercy mission. You passed directly through a restricted system. Several transmissions were beamed to this ship by rebel spies. I want to know what happened to the plans they sent you.
I don't know what you're talking about. I'm a member of the Imperial mission to run.
You are part of the Rebel Alliance and a traitor. Take her away.
Leia is marched down the hallway into the smoldering hole blasted in the side of the ship. An Imperial commander turns to Vader.
Holding her is dangerous. If word of this gets out, it could generate sympathy for the rebellion in the Senate.
Traced the rebel spies to her. Now she's my only link to find their secrets.
She'll die before she tells you anything.
Leave that to me. Send a distress signal, and then inform the Senate that all of them are killed.
Another Imperial officer approaches Vader and the commander. They stop and snap to attention. Vader turns to the commander.
He must have hidden the plans in the escape pod. Send a detachment down to retrieve them. See to it personally, Commander. There'll be no one to stop us this time.
The Imperial Star Destroyer comes over the surface of the planet Tatooine. Jundland, or No Man's Land, where the rugged desert mesas meet the foreboding Dune Sea, the two helpless astro droids kick up clouds of sand as they leave the life pod and clumsily work their way across the desert wasteland. The life pod in the distance rests half buried in the sand.
How did I get into this mess? I really don't know how. We seem to be made to suffer. It's our lot in life.
R2 answers with beeping sounds.
I've got to rest before I fall apart. My joints are almost frozen.
R2 continues to respond with beeping sounds.
What a desolate place this is.
Suddenly, R2 whistles, makes a sharp right turn, and starts off in the direction of the rocky desert mesas. 3PO stops and yells at him.
Where are you going?
A stream of electronic noises pours forth from the small robot.
Well, I'm not going that way. It's much too rocky. This way is much easier.
R2 counters with a long whistle.
What makes you think there are settlements over there?
R2 continues to make beeping sounds.
Don't get technical with me.
R2 continues to make beeping sounds.
What mission? What are you talking about? I've had just about enough of you. Go that way. You'll be malfunctioning within a day, you nearsighted scrap pile.
3PO gives the robot a kick and starts off in the direction of the vast Dune Sea.
And don't let me catch you following me, begging me for help, because you won't get it.
R2's reply is a rather rude sound. He turns and trudges off in the direction of the towering mesas.
No more adventures. I'm not going that way.
R2 beeps to himself as he makes his way toward the distant mountains. 3PO, hot and tired, struggles up over the ridge of a dune, only to find more dunes, which seem to go on for endless miles. He looks back in the direction of the now distant rock mesas.
That malfunctioning little twerp. This is all his fault. He tricked me into going this way, but he'll do no better.
In a huff of anger and frustration, 3PO knocks the sand from his joints. His plight seems hopeless, when a glint of reflected light in the distance reveals an object moving towards him.
Wait, what's that? A transport! I'm saved!
The bronze android waves frantically and yells at the approaching transport.
Over here! Help! Please help!
R2 beep boops before a couple of Jawas pick him up against his will. Especially, what the fuck? I'm not reading that last part. Who wrote this? R2 enters a wide room with a 4-foot ceiling. In the middle of the scrap heap sit a dozen or so robots of various shapes and sizes. Some are engaged in electronic conversation, while others simply mill about. The voice of recognition calls out from the gloom.
R2-D2, it's you! It's you!
A battered 3PO scrambles up to R2 and embraces him. 4 Imperial stormtroopers mill about in front of the half-buried life pod that brought R2 and 3PO to Tatooine. A trooper yells to an officer some distance away. A second trooper picks a small bit of metal out of the sand and gives it to the first trooper.
Look, sir, droids.
The sandcrawler moves slowly down a great sand dune. 3PO and R2 noisily bounce along inside the cramped prison chamber. R2 appears to be shut down.
Wake up! Wake up!
Suddenly, the shaking and bouncing of the sandcrawler stops, creating quite a commotion among the mechanical men. 3PO's fist bangs the head of R2, whose computer lights pop on as he begins beeping. At the far end of the long chamber, a hatch opens, filling the chamber with blinding white light. A dozen or so Jawas make their way through the odd assortment of robots.
We're doomed.
A Jawa starts moving toward them.
Do you think they'll melt us down?
R2 responds, making beeping sounds.
Don't shoot! Don't shoot! Will this never end?
But I went to Toshi Station to pick up some power converters. All right, come on. And the red one. Come on. Well, come on, Red, let's go.
Get like that line's in the wrong spot. As the Jawas start to lead the 3 remaining robots back into the sandcrawler. Yeah, I think we skipped over Owen buying R2 and 3PO. Yeah.
He's still in the next narration. No one's
Oh, shoot.
negotiating.
Oh, there.
Alright. R2 lets out a pathetic little beep and starts after his old friend 3PO. He is restrained by a Jawa, who zaps him with a control box. Owen is negotiating with the head Jawa. Luke and the 2 robots start off for the garage when a plate pops off the head of the red Astro droid's head plate, and it sparks. Wildly.
Uncle Owen, this R2 unit has a bad motivator. Look,
Jabba goes into a loud spiel. Meanwhile, R2 has sneaked out of line and is moving up and down, trying to attract attention. He lets out a low whistle. 3PO taps Luke on the shoulder.
Excuse me, sir, but that R2 unit is in prime condition. A real bargain.
Uncle Owen. What about that one?
With little reluctance, the scruffy dwarf trades the damaged astro droid for R2.
Yeah, take it away.
I'm not quite sure you'll be very pleased with that one, sir. He really is in first-class condition. I've worked with him before. Here he comes.
Owen pays off the whining Jawa as Luke and 2 robots trudge off towards a grimy homestead entry.
Okay, let's go.
Now don't you forget this. Why, I should stick my neck out for you is quite beyond my capacity.
The garage is cluttered and worn, but a friendly, peaceful atmosphere permeates the low, gray chamber. 3PO lowers himself into a large tub filled with warm oil. Near the battered land speeder, little R2 rests on a large battery with a cord to his face.
Thank the maker. This oil bath is going to feel so good. I've got such a bad case of dust contamination, I can barely move.
R2 beeps a muffled reply. Luke seems to be lost in thought as he runs his hand over the damaged fin of a small 2-man Skyhopper spaceship resting in a low hangar off the garage. Finally, Luke's frustrations get the better of him, and he slams a wrench across the workbench.
It just isn't fair. Oh, Biggs is right. I'm never going to get out of here.
Is there anything I might do to help?
Luke glances at the battered robot. A bit of his anger drains, and a tiny smile creeps across his face.
Well, not unless he can alter time, speed up the harvest, or teleport me off this rock.
I don't think so, sir. I'm only a droid, and not very knowledgeable about such things. Not on this planet, anyway. As a matter of fact, I'm not even sure which planet I'm on.
Well, if there's a bright center of the universe, you're on the planet that's farthest from.
I see, sir.
You can call me Luke.
I see, Sir Luke.
Just Luke.
And I am C-3PO, Human-Cyborg Relations, and this is my counterpart, R2-D2.
Hello.
R2 beeps in response. Luke unplugs R2 and begins to scrape several connectors on the robot's head with a chrome pick. 3PO climbs out of the oil tub and begins wiping oil from his bronze body.
You got a lot of carbon scoring here. Looks like you boys have seen a lot of action.
With all we've been through, sometimes I'm amazed we're in as good condition as we are, with all that rebellion and all.
You know of the rebellion against the Empire?
That's how we came to be in your service, if you take my meaning, sir.
Have you been in many battles?
Several, I think. Actually, there's not much to tell. I'm not much more than an interpreter, and not very good at telling stories. Well, not at making them interesting anyways.
Luke struggles to remove a small metal fragment from R2's neck joint. He uses a larger pick.
Well, my little friend, you've got something jammed in here real good. Were you on a cruiser or...
The fragment breaks loose with a snap, sending Luke tumbling head over heels. He sits up and sees a 12-inch three-dimensional hologram of Leia Organa, the rebel senator, being projected from the face of little R2. The image is a rainbow of colors as it flickers and jiggles in the dimly lit garage. Luke's mouth hangs open in awe.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
What's this?
R2 looks around and sheepishly beeps an answer for 3PO to translate. Leia continues to repeat the sentence fragment over and over.
What is what? He asked you a question.
Pointing
What is
to
that?
Leia.
What is that?
R2 whistles his surprise as he pretends to just notice the hologram. He looks around and sheepishly beeps an answer for 3PO to translate. Leia continues to repeat the sentence fragment over and over.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
Oh, he says it's nothing, sir. Merely a malfunction. Old data. Pay it no mind.
Luke becomes intrigued by the beautiful girl.
Who is she? She's beautiful.
I'm afraid I'm not quite sure, sir.
Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi.
I think she was a passenger on our last voyage. A person of some importance, sir, I believe. Our captain was attached to...
Is there more to this recording?
Luke reaches out for R2, but he lets out several frantic squeaks and a whistle.
Behave yourself, R2. You're going to get us into trouble. It's all right. You can trust him. He's our new master.
R2 whistles and beeps a long message to 3PO.
He says he's the property of Obi-Wan Kenobi, a resident of these parts. And it's a private message for him. Quite frankly, sir, I don't know what he's talking about. Our last master was Captain Antilles, but with what we've been through, this little R2 unit has become a bit eccentric.
Obi-Wan Kenobi? I wonder if he means that old Ben Kenobi.
I beg your pardon, sir, but do you know what he's talking about?
Well, I don't know anyone named Obi-Wan, but old Ben lives out beyond the Dune Sea. He's kind of a strange old hermit. I wonder who she is.
Luke gazes at the beautiful young princess for a few moments.
It sounds like she's in trouble. I better play back the whole thing.
R2 beeps something to 3PO.
He says their straining bolt has short-circuited his recording system. He suggests that if you remove the bolt, he might be able to play back the entire recording.
Luke looks longingly at the lovely little princess and hasn't really heard what 3PO has been saying.
Oh, yeah, well, I guess you're too small to run away on me if I take this off. Okay.
Luke takes a wedged bar and pops the restraining bolt off R2's side.
There you go.
The princess immediately disappears.
Well, wait a minute. Where'd she go? Bring her back. Play back the entire message.
R2 beeps an innocent reply as 3PO sits up in embarrassment.
What message? You're the one carrying inside your rusty innards.
A woman's voice calls out from another room.
Luke? Luke, come to dinner.
Luke stands up and shakes his head at the malfunctioning robot.
All right. I'll be right there, Emperor.
I'm sorry, sir, but he appears to have picked up a slight flutter.
Luke tosses R2's restraining bolt on the workbench and hurries out of the room.
We'll see what you can do with him. I'll be right back.
Just you can reconsider playing that message for him. No, I don't think he likes you at all. No, I don't like you either.
Luke's Aunt Beru, a warm, motherly woman, fills a pitcher with blue fluid from a refrigerated container in the well-used kitchen. She puts the pitcher on a tray with some bowls of food and starts for the dining area. Luke sits with his Uncle Owen before a table covered with steaming bowls of food as Aunt Beru carries in a bowl of red grain.
You know, I think that R2 unit we bought might have been stolen. Well, I stumbled across a recording while I was cleaning him. He says he belongs to someone called Obi-Wan Kenobi?
Owen is greatly alarmed at the mention of his name, but manages to control himself.
I thought he might have meant old Ben. Do you know what he's talking about? Well, I wonder if he's related to Ben. But what if this Obi-Wan comes looking for him? He knew my father?
Gonna finish that sentence?
Yes, sir. I think those new droids are going to work out fine. In fact, I was also thinking about our agreement about me staying another season. And if these new droids do work, I want to transmit my application to the Academy this year. Sure, there's more than enough droids.
Luke continues to toy with his food, not looking at his uncle.
But it's a whole nother year. Yeah, that's what you said last year when Biggs and Tark left.
Where are you going?
It looks like I'm going nowhere. I have to finish cleaning those droids.
Resigned to his fate, Luke paddles out of the room. Owen mechanically finishes his dinner.
Oh, and he can't stay here forever. Most of his friends are gone. It means so much to him. Luke just ain't no farmer, Owen. Much of his father in him. Shut up and have some more beans.
Too many beans. The giant twin suns of Tatooine slowly disappear behind a distant dune range. Luke stands watching them for a few moments, then reluctantly enters the domed entrance to the homestead. Luke enters the garage to discover the robots nowhere in sight. He takes a small control box from his utility belt similar to the one the Jawas were carrying. He activates the box, which creates a low hum, and 3PO, letting out a short yell, pops up from behind the Skyhopper spaceship.
What are you doing hiding there?
3PO stumbles forward, but R2 is still nowhere in sight.
It wasn't my fault, sir. Please don't deactivate me. I told him not to go, but he's faulty, malfunctioning. Kept babbling on about his mission.
Oh no.
That R2 unit has always been a problem. These astro droids are getting quite out of hand. Even I can't understand their logic at times.
How could I be so stupid? He's nowhere in sight. Blast it!
Pardon me, sir, but couldn't we go after him?
It's too dangerous with all the sand people around. We'll have to wait until morning. All right, I'll be there in a few minutes. Boy, am I gonna get it.
He takes one final look across the dim horizon.
You know, that little droid is going to cause me a lot of trouble.
Oh, he excels at that, sir.
Morning slowly creeps into the sparse but sparkling oasis of the open courtyard. The idyll is broken by the yelling of Uncle Owen, his voice echoing throughout the homestead. The interior of the
He said he had some things to do before he started today, so he left early. I think so.
Oh.
Yeah, 'cause then your pants will drop.
The rock and sand of the desert floor are a blur as 3PO pilots the sleek land speeder gracefully across the vast wasteland. Luke leans over the back of the speeder and adjusts something in the motor compartment.
What was that?
That was a yell? 3PO signals that it's fine, and Luke turns back into the wind-whipped cockpit and pops the canopy shut.
Old Ben Kenobi lives out in this direction somewhere, but I don't see how that R2 unit could have come this far. We must have missed him. Uncle Owen isn't going to take this very well. I'm going to get whipped with that belt again.
Sir, would it be any help if you told him it was my fault? Then I would be the one to get whipped.
Yeah, sure, he needs you. He'd probably only deactivate you for a day or so.
Deactivate? Well, on the other hand, if you hadn't removed his restraining bolt.
Wait, there's something dead ahead on the scanner. It looks like our droid. Hit the accelerator. Hey, whoa, just where do you think you're going?
The little droid whistles a feeble reply as 3PO poses menacingly behind the little runaway. He's just standing there, menacingly. The pillar 3PO.
Master Luke, he is your rightful owner. We'll have no more of this. Obi-Wan Kenobi gibberish. And don't talk to me about your mission either. You're fortunate he doesn't blast you into a million pieces right here.
What? Well, come on, it's getting late. I only hope we can get back before Uncle Owen really goes ham with that belt.
If you don't mind me saying so, sir, I think you should deactivate the little fugitive until you've gotten him back to your workshop.
No, he's not going to try anything.
Suddenly, the little robot jumps to life with a mass of frantic whistles and screams.
What's wrong with him? Not just now, just in general.
Oh my, sir. He says there are several creatures approaching from the southeast.
Luke swings his rifle into position and looks to the south.
Sand people, or worse. Come on, let's have a look. Come on.
Luke carefully makes his way to the top of a rock ridge and scans the canyon with his electro binoculars. He spots the two riderless banthas. 3PO struggles up behind the young adventurer.
There are two banthas down there, but I don't see any. Wait a second. There's been. Oh, shoot!
Came in a little too early. R2 moves even tighter into the shadows as the slight swishing sound that grows even closer until a shabby old desert rat of a man appears and leans over Luke. His ancient leathery face, cracked and weathered by the climate, is set off by dark, penetrating eyes and a scraggly white beard. Ben Kenobi squints his eyes as he scrutinizes the unconscious farm boy. R2 makes a slight sound, and Ben turns and looks right at him.
Hello there. Come here, my little friend. Don't be afraid.
R2 waddles over to where Luke lies, crumpled in a heap, and begins to whistle and beep his concern. Ben puts his hand on Luke's forehead as he begins to come around.
Oh, don't worry. He'll be all right.
What happened?
Rest easy, son. You've had a busy day. You're fortunate that you're still in one piece.
Ben? Ben Kenobi. Boy, am I glad to see you.
The Jundran wastes are not to be traveled lightly. Tell me, young Luke, what brings you out this far?
Oh, this little droid. I think he's searching for his former master. I've never seen such devotion in a droid before. There seems to be no stopping him. He claims to be the property of an Obi-Wan Kenobi. Is he a relative of yours? Do you know who he's talking about?
Ben ponders this for a moment, scratching his scruffy beard.
Obi-Wan Kenobi. Obi-Wan. Now, that's a name I've not heard in a long time. A long time.
I think my uncle knew him. He said he was dead.
Oh, he's not dead. Not yet.
You know him?
Well, of course I know him. He's me. I haven't gone by the name of Obi-Wan since before you were born.
Then the droid does belong to you.
I don't seem to remember owning any droids. Very interesting.
He suddenly looks up at the overhanging cliffs.
I think we'd better get indoors. The sand people are easily startled, but they'll soon be back and in greater numbers.
Luke sits up and rubs his head. R2 lets out a pathetic moan, causing Luke to remember something. He looks around.
3PO!
Little R2 stands at the edge of a large sand pit and begins to chatter away in electronic whistles and beeps. Luke and Ben stand over a very dented and tangled 3PO lying half buried in the sand. One of his arms is broken off. Luke tries to revive the inert body by shaking him, and then flips a hidden switch on his back several times until finally the mechanical command systems turn on. I always say turn it off and then back on again.
Where am I? I must have taken a bad step.
Can you stand? We've got to get out of here before the sand people return.
I don't think I can make it. You go on, Master Luke. There's no sense in you risking yourself on my account. I'm done for.
Who makes a beeping sound?
No, you're not. What kind of talk is that?
Luke and Ben help the battered robot to his feet. Little R2 watches from the top of the pit. Ben glances around suspiciously. Sensing something, he stands up and sniffs the air.
Quickly, son. They're on the move.
The small Spartan hovel is cluttered with desert junk, but still manages to radiate an air of time-worn comfort and security. Luke is in one corner repairing 3PO's arm as old Ben sits thinking.
No, my father didn't fight in the wars. He was a navigator on a space freighter.
That's what your uncle told you. He didn't hold with your father's ideals, thought he should have stayed here and not gotten involved.
You fought in the Clone Wars? Pay attention to that line, kids. It's going to be relevant later.
Yes, I was once a Jedi Knight, the same as your father.
I wish I'd known him.
He was the best star pilot in the galaxy and a cunning warrior. I understand you've become quite a good pilot yourself. And he was a good friend, which reminds me.
Ben gets up and goes to a chest where he rummages around. As Luke finishes repairing 3PO and starts to fit the restraining bolt back on, 3PO looks at him nervously. Luke thinks about the bolt for a moment, then puts it on the table. Ben shuffles up and presents Luke with a short handle with several electronic gadgets attached to it.
I have something here for you. Your father wanted you to have this when you were old enough, but your uncle wouldn't allow it. He feared you might follow old Obi-Wan on some damn fool idealistic crusade like your father did.
Sir, if you'll not be needing me, I'll close down for a while.
Sure, go ahead.
Ben hands Luke the saber.
What is
hands Luke.
What is it?
Your father... your father's lightsaber. This is the weapon of a Jedi Knight. Not as clumsy or random as a blaster.
Luke pushes a button on the handle. A long beam shoots out about 4 feet and flickers there. The light plays across the ceiling.
An elegant weapon from more civilized age. For over 1,000 generations, the Jedi Knights were the guardians of peace and justice in the Old Republic. Before the dark times. Before the Empire.
Luke hasn't really been listening. He has low attention. God damn it.
How did my
My
father...
boy.
It's insensitive. It should be ADHD.
How did my father die?
In a molten vat of lava. A young Jedi named Darth Vader, who was a pupil of mine until he turned to evil, helped the Empire hunt down and destroy the Jedi Knights. He betrayed and murdered your father. Now the Jedi are all but extinct. Vader was seduced by the dark side of the Force.
The Force?
Well, the Force is what gives the Jedi his power. It's an energy field created by microscopic organisms called midichlorians.
No.
It surrounds us and penetrates us, and it binds the galaxy together.
Ben Kenobi. My apprentice.
He's going
Now,
senile.
let's see if we can figure out what more information, my little friend. And where you come from.
I saw part of the message. He was...
I seem to have found it.
Luke is cut short as the recorded image of the beautiful young rebel princess is projected from R2's face. Luke stops his work as the lovely girl's image flickers before his eyes.
General Kenobi, years ago you served my father in the Clone Wars. Now he begs you to help him in his struggle against the Empire. I regret that I am unable to present my father's request to you in person, but my ship has fallen under attack, and I'm afraid my mission to bring you to Alderaan has failed. I have placed information vital to the survival of the rebellion into the memory systems of this R2 unit. My father will know how to retrieve it. You must see this droid safely delivered to him on Alderaan. This is our most desperate hour. Help me, Obi-Wan Kenobi. You're my only hope.
There's a little static and the transmission is cut short. Old Ben leans back and scratches his head. He silently puffs on a tarnished chrome water pipe. Luke has stars in his eyes.
You must learn the ways of the Force if you're to come with me to Alderaan.
Alderaan? I'm not going to Alderaan. I've got to go home. It's too late. I'm in for it as it is.
I need your help, Luke. She needs your help. I'm getting too old for this sort of thing.
I can't get involved. I've got work to do. It's not that I like the Empire. I hate it. But there's nothing I can do about it right now. It's such a long way from here.
That's your uncle talking. How many butt whippings have you received?
Oh, God, my uncle. Too many. How am I ever going to explain this?
I should report him to Child Services. But
Please
you should
do.
learn the Force, Luke.
Look, I can take you as far as Anchorhead. You can get a transport there to Mos Eisley or wherever you're going.
You must do what you feel is right. Of course. I cannot... Something. Interfere? No, that's the wrong line.
8 Imperial senators and generals sit around a black conference table. Imperial stormtroopers stand guard around the room. Commander Tog, a young, slimy-looking general, is speaking. Wait, who is playing Tog?
Who is that?
Until this battle station is fully operational, we are vulnerable. Rebel Alliance is too well equipped. They're more dangerous than you realize.
The bitter Admiral Motti twists nervously in his chair. Should I just do Motti?
Dangerous to your Starfleet, Commander, not to this battle station.
The rebellion will continue to gain the support from the Imperial Senate as long as...
Suddenly all heads turn as Commander Tog's speech is cut short and Grand Moff Tarkin, governor of the Imperial Outland regions, enters. He is followed by his powerful ally, the Sith Lord Darth Vader. All of the generals stand and bow before the thin, evil-looking governor as he takes his place at the head of the table. The Dark Lord stands behind him.
The Imperial Senate will no longer be of any concern to us. I have just received word that the Emperor has dissolved the Council permanently. The last remnants of the old Republic have been swept away.
That's impossible. How will the Emperor maintain control without the bureaucracy?
The regional governors now have direct control over territories. Fear will keep the local systems in line. Fear of this battle station.
And what of the rebellion? The rebels have obtained a complete technical readout of the station. It is possible, however unlikely, that they might find a weakness. Exploit it.
The plans you refer to will soon be back in our hands.
Any attack made by the rebels against the station would be a useless gesture, no matter what technical data they've obtained. This station is now the ultimate power in the universe. I suggest we use it.
Don't be too proud of this technological terror you've constructed. The ability to destroy a planet is insignificant next to the power of the Force.
Don't try to frighten us with your sorcerer's ways, Lord Vader. Your sad devotion to that ancient religion has not helped you conjure up the stolen data tapes or given you the clairvoyance enough to find the rebels' hidden fort.
Suddenly, Motti chokes and starts to turn blue under Vader's spell.
I find your lack of faith disturbing.
Enough of this. Vader, release him.
As you wish.
This bickering is pointless. Lord Vader will provide us with the location of the rebel fortress by the time this station is operational. We will then crush the rebellion with one swift stroke.
The speeder stops before what remains of the huge Jawa sandcrawler. Luke and Ben walk among the smoldering rubble and scattered bodies.
It looks like sand people did this, all right? Look, here are gaffy sticks. Bantha tracks, it's just... I've never seen them hitting anything this big before.
Ben is crouching in the sand, studying the tracks.
They didn't, but we are meant to think they did. These tracks are side by side. Sand people always ride single file to hide their numbers.
These are the same Jawas that sold us R2 and 3PO.
And these blast points, too accurate for sand people. Only Imperial stormtroopers are so imprecise.
Why would Imperial troops want to slaughter Jawas?
Luke looks back at the speeder where R2 and 3PO are inspecting the dead Jawas, and puts 2 and 2 together.
If they trace the robots here, they may have learned who they sold them to, and that would lead them home.
Luke reaches a sudden, horrible realization, then races for the speeder and jumps in it.
Wait, Luke, it's too dangerous.
Luke races off, leaving Ben and the two robots alone with the burning sandcrawler.
Uncle Owen! Aunt Beru! Uncle Owen!
Yeah, they're dead, folks. Vader approaches Leia with a torture droid. You've seen this part a million times.
Your Highness, we will discuss the location of your hidden rebel base.
There is a large bonfire of Jawa bodies blazing in front of the sandcrawler as Ben and the robots finish burning the dead. Luke drives up in the speeder and Ben walks over to him.
There's nothing you could have done, Luke. Had you been there, you'd have been killed too, and the droids would now be in the hands of the Empire.
I want to come with you to Alderaan. There's nothing here for me now. I want to learn their ways of the Force and become a Jedi like my father.
The land speeder with Luke, R2, and 3PO and Ben in it zooms across the desert. The speeder stops on a bluff overlooking the spaceport at Mos Eisley. It is a haphazard array of low-grade concrete structures and semi-domes. A harsh gale blows across the stark canyon floor. Luke adjusts his goggles and walks to the edge of the craggy bluff where Ben is standing.
Mos Eisley Spaceport. You will never find a more wretched hive of scum and villainy. We must be cautious.
Ben looks over at Luke, who gives the old Jedi a determined smile. The speeder is stopped on a crowded street by several... What? Are you sure about that? Because from my perspective, it looks like Cathardant. Several combat-hardened stormtroopers look over the two robots. A trooper questions Luke. How long have you had these droids?
About 3 or 4 seasons.
They're up for sale if you want them.
Let me see your identification. Luke becomes very nervous as he fumbles to find his ID, while Ben speaks to the trooper in a very controlled voice.
You don't need to see his identification.
We don't need to see his identification.
These are not the droids you're looking for.
These are not the droids we're looking for.
He can go about his business.
You can go about your business.
Move along. Move along.
Move along. Move along. The speeder pulls up in front of a rundown blockhouse cantina on the outskirts of the spaceport. Various strange forms of transport, including several unusual beasts of burden, are parked outside the bar. A Jawa runs up and begins to inspect the speeder.
I can't abide these Jawas, disgusting creatures.
As Luke gets out of the speeder, he tries to shoo the Jawa away.
Go on, shoo. I can't understand how we got by those troopers. I thought we were dead.
The Force can have a strong influence on the weak-minded. You will find it a powerful ally.
Do you really think we're going to find a pilot here that'll take us to Alderaan?
Well, most of the best starfighter pilots, freighter pilots, and all other pilots can be found here. Only watch your step. This place can be a little rough.
I'm ready for anything.
Come along, R2.
The young adventurer and his 2 mechanical servants follow Ben Kenobi into the smoke-filled cantina. The murky, moldy den is filled with a startling array of weird and exotic alien creatures and monsters at the long metallic bar. At first, the sight is horrifying. One-eyed, thousand-eyed, slimy, furry, scaly, tentacled, and clawed creatures huddle over drinks. Ben moves to an empty spot at the bar near a group of repulsive but human scum. A huge, rough-looking bartender stops Luke and the robots. Luke is still recovering from the shock of seeing so many outlandish creatures. Doesn't quite catch the bartender's drift.
What?
Luke looks at old Ben, who is busy talking to one of the galactic pirates. He notices several of the gruesome creatures along the bar, giving him a very unfriendly glare. Luke pats 3PO on the shoulder.
Listen, why don't you wait out by the speeder? We don't want any trouble.
I heartily agree with you, sir.
3PO and his stubby partner go outside, and most of the creatures at the bar go back to their drinks. Ben is standing next to Chewbacca, an 8-foot-tall, savage-looking creature resembling a huge gray bush baby monkey with fierce baboon-like fangs. His large blue eyes dominate a fur-covered face and soften his otherwise awesome appearance. Over his matted, furry body, he wears 2 chrome bandoliers and little else. He is a 200-year-old Wookiee and a sight to behold. Ben speaks to the Wookiee, pointing to Luke several times during his conversation, and the huge creature suddenly lets out a horrifying laugh. Luke is more than a little bit disconcerted and pretends not to hear the conversation between Ben and the giant Wookiee. Luke is terrified, but tries not to show it. He quietly sips his drink, looking over the crowd for a more sympathetic ear, or whatever. A large, multiple-eyed creature gives Luke a rough shove. The hideous freak is obviously drunk. Hideous freak in this context meaning a qualish. Luke tries to ignore the creature and turns back on his drink. A short, grubby human and an even smaller rodent-like beast join the belligerent monstrosity.
I'm sorry.
The big creature is getting agitated and yells out some unintelligible gibberish at the now rather nervous young adventurer.
I'll be careful then.
The rodent lets out a loud grunt and everything at the bar moves away. Luke tries to remain cool, but it isn't easy. His 3 adversaries ready their weapons. Old Ben moves in behind Luke.
This little one's not worth the effort. Now come, let me buy you something.
A powerful blow from the unpleasant creature sends the young would-be Jedi sailing across the room where he is now dead. His head's been caved in by a giant Aqualish. Never mind. Crashing through tables and breaking a large jug filled with a foul-looking liquid. With a blood-curdling shriek, the monster draws a wicked chrome laser pistol from his belt and levels it at old Ben. The bartender panics. Yes, panicked. Very panicked. With astounding agility, old Ben's laser sword sparks to life, and in a flash, an arm lies on the floor, the first of many casualties to the throne of Star Wars. The rodent is cut in 2, and the giant multiple-eyed creature lies doubled cut from chin to groin. Ben carefully and precisely turns off his laser sword and replaces it on his utility belt. Luke, shaking and totally amazed at the old man's abilities, attempts to stand. The entire fight has lasted only a matter of seconds. The cantina goes back to normal, although Ben is given a respectable amount of room at the bar. Luke, rubbing his bruised head, approaches the old man with new awe. Ben points at the Wookiee.
This is Chewbacca. He's first mate on a ship that might suit our needs.
.3PO paces in front of the cantina as R2 carries on an electric conversation with another little red astro droid. A creature comes out of the cantina and approaches 2 stormtroopers in the street.
I don't like the look of this.
Strange creatures play exotic big band music on odd-looking instruments as Luke, still giddy, downs a fresh drink and follows Ben and Chewbacca to a booth where Han Solo is sitting. Han is a tough, roguish star pilot, about 30 years old. Mercenary on a starship, he is simple, sentimental, and cocksure. Han Solo, captain of the Millennium Falcon. Chewie here tells me you're looking for passage to the Alderaan system.
Yes, indeed. If it's a fast ship.
Fast ship? You've never heard of the Millennium Falcon?
Should I have?
It's the ship that made the Kessel Run in less than 12 parsecs. Ben reacts to Solo's stupid attempt to impress them with obvious misinformation. I've outrun Imperial starships. Not the local bulk cruisers, mind you. I'm talking about the big Corellian ships now. She's fast enough for you, old man. What's the cargo?
Only passengers, myself the boy, 2 droids, and no questions asked.
What is it? Some kind of local trouble?
Let's just say we'd like to avoid any Imperial entanglements.
Well, that's the trick, isn't it? And it's going to cost you something extra. 10,000 in advance.
10,000? We can almost buy our own ship for that.
But who's going to fly it, kid? You?
You bet I could. I'm not such a bad pilot myself. We don't have to sit here and listen.
We haven't that much with us, but we could pay you 2,000 now, plus 15 when we reach Alderaan.
17, huh? Han ponders this for a few moments. Okay. You guys got yourself a ship. We'll leave as soon as you're ready. Docking Bay 94.
94.
Looks like somebody's beginning to take an interest in your handiwork. Ben and Luke turn around to see 4 Imperial stormtroopers looking at the dead bodies and asking the bartender some questions. The bartender points to the booth. Is anyone going to do that stormtrooper line?
I'll do it, don't worry.
Okay.
All right, we'll check it out.
The stormtroopers look over at the booth, but Luke and Ben are gone. The bartender shrugs his shoulders in puzzlement. 17,000. Those guys must really be desperate. This could really save my neck. Get back to the ship and get her ready.
You'll have to sell your speeder.
That's okay. I'm never coming back to this planet again, except in 4 years' time when I'm 23.
As Han is about to leave, Greedo, a slimy green-faced alien with a short trunk nose, pokes a gun in his side. The creature speaks in a foreign tongue, translated into English subtitles. Wish you had just given me the freaking alien.
Solo.
Look, I'm just gonna read the English. Going somewhere, Solo? Yes, Greedo. As a matter of fact, I was just going to see your boss. Tell Jabba that I've got his money. Han sits down and the alien sits across from him holding the gun on him. It's too late. You should have paid him when you had the chance. Jabba's put a price on your head, so large that every bounty hunter in the galaxy will be looking for you. I'm lucky I found you first. Yeah, but this time I got the money. If you give it to me, I might forget I found you. I don't have it with me. Tell Jabba's through with you. He has no time for smugglers who drop their shipments at the first sign of an Imperial cruiser. Even I get boarded sometimes. Do you think I had a choice? Han Solo slowly reaches for his gun under the table. You can tell that to Jabba. He may only take your ship. Over my dead body. That's the idea. I've been looking forward to killing you for a long time. Yes, I'll bet you have. Suddenly, the slimy alien disappears in a blinding flash of light. Han pulls his smoking gun from beneath the table as the other patrons look on in bemused amazement. Han gets up and starts out of the cantina, flipping the bartender some coins as he leaves. Sorry about the mess. Several TIE fighters approach the Death Star. Several TIE fighters approach the Death Star.
Lord Vader?
Sorry, I'm having a little bit of play in the word.
Okay.
What do you mean?
Sorry.
Their resistance to the mind probe is considerable. It'll be some time before we can extract any information from her. I think I'm going
An
to see
Imperial
her.
officer interrupts the meeting.
The final checkout is complete. All systems are operational. What course shall we set?
Perhaps she would respond to an alternative form of persuasion.
You mean?
I think it's time we demonstrate the full power of this station. Set your course for Princess Leia's home planet of Alderaan. Excellent.
4 heavily armed stormtroopers move menacingly along a narrow slum alleyway, crowded with darkly clad creatures, hawking exotic goods in dingy little stalls. Men, monsters, and robots crouch in the waste-filled doorways, whispering and hiding from the hot winds.
Lock the door, R2.
One of the troopers checks a tightly locked door and moves on down the alleyway. The door slides open a crack and 3PO peeks out. R2 is barely visible in the background. The door opens and 3PO moves into the doorway.
I would much rather have gone with Master Luke than stay here. With you, I don't know all the trouble is about, but I'm sure it must be your fault.
R2 makes beeping sounds.
You watch your language.
Ben and Luke are standing in the sleazy used speeder lot talking with a tall, grotesque, insect-like used speeder dealer. Strange exotic bodies and spindly-legged beasts pass by as the insect continues the sale by giving Luke some coins.
He says it's the best he can do. Since the XP-38 came out, they're just not in demand.
It'll be enough.
Ben and Luke leave the speeder lot and walk down the dusty alleyway past a small robot herding a bunch of anteater-like creatures. Luke turns and gives one last forlorn look at his faithful speeder as he rounds a corner. A darkly clad creature moves out of the shadows as they pass and watches them as they disappear down another alley.
If the ship's as fast as he's boasting, we ought to do well.
Jabba the Hutt and a half-dozen grisly alien pirates and purple creatures stand in the middle of the docking bay. Jabba is the grossest of the slavering hulks. I'm not sure slavering is a word. And his scarred face is a grim testimonial to his prowess as a vicious killer. He is a fat, slug-like creature with eyes on extended feelers and a huge, ugly mouth. You got that from the book, didn't you?
Solo.
A voice from directly behind the pirates startles them, and they turn around to see Han Solo and the giant Wookiee, Chewbacca, standing behind them with no weapons in sight. I've been waiting for you, Jabba. I'm not the type to run.
Din hamabugi. Pita poko wawa wuwu habante pupu payawa. Huku kipa papa wawa kika wuku.
You sent Greedo to blast me.
Ho diba kuku tasmo kuku kabanga wo. Oh my god. Ho 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 yeah.
Does anyone have a translator? I think he thought he was. Next time, don't send one of those twerps. If you got something to say to me, come see me yourself.
Hon ma itombo wo shikan kuki wo. Imapo ipo ho ho yi ho no woku.
You know, even I get bored sometimes, Jabba. I had no choice. But I've got a charter now, and I can pay you back, plus a little extra. I just need some more time.
Idombo wato. Imabogi. Umba wo soko. Hoti hu. Won ko hon ki ba po ko. Hon hi. Hon
Jabba, I'll pay you because it's my pleasure. Fucking Huttese. Chewbacca waits restlessly at the entrance to Docking Bay 94. Ben, Luke, and the robots... No, wait, 97. Ben, Luke, and the robots make their way up the street. Chewbacca jabbers excitedly and signals for them to hurry. The darkly clad creature has followed them from the speeder lot. He stops in a nearby doorway and speaks into a small transmitter. Oh, it was 94. Crap. Chewbacca leads the group into a giant dirt pit that is Docking Bay 94. Resting in the middle of the huge hole is a large, round, beat-up, pieced-together hunk of junk that could only loosely be called a starship.
What a piece of junk!
The tall figure of Han Solo comes down the boarding ramp. She'll make 0.5 beyond the speed of light. She may not look like much, but she's got it where it counts, kid. I've added some special modifications myself. Luke scratches his head. It's obvious he isn't sure about all this. Chewbacca rushes up the ramp and urges the others to follow. We're a little rushed, so if you'll hurry aboard, we'll get out of here. The group rushes up the gangplank, passing a grinning Han Solo. Chewbacca settles into the pilot's chair and starts the mighty engines of the starship. Luke, Ben, 3PO, and R2 move toward the Millennium Falcon, passing Solo.
Hello, sir.
8 Imperial stormtroopers rush up to the darkly clad creature.
Which way?
Before I continue, I'm just going to quickly grab some water because I don't have any talking
Go ahead,
stuff. I'll be right back.
We are on a sand planet after all. Stay hydrated, kids.
Not to mention those 2 suns will really suck the water right out of you.
Since when were the suns vampiric? It's just hard.
That's why I always keep my canteen on me. Drink up.
On the other statement, got blue milk?
Mr. Solo, unfortunately, I blocked your toilet. The vacuum toilets on the Millennium Falcon are notoriously bad.
How dare you? Oh, that is much better. All right. The darkly clad creature points to the door of the docking bay.
All right, men. Load your weapons.
The troops hold their guns at the ready and charge down the docking bay entrance.
Stop that ship.
Han Solo looks up and sees the Imperial stormtroopers rushing into the docking bay. Several of the troopers fire at Han as he ducks into the spaceship.
Blast him.
Han draws his laser pistol and pops off a couple of shots, which force the stormtroopers to dive for safety. The ship's engines whine as Han hits the release button that slams the overhead entry shut. Chewie, get us out of here! The group straps in for takeoff.
Oh my, I'd forgotten how much I hate space travel.
The half-dozen stormtroopers at a checkpoint hear the general alarm and look to the sky as the huge starship rises above the dingy slum dwellings and quickly disappears into the morning sky. Han climbs into the pilot's chair next to Chewbacca, who chatters away as he points to something on the radar scope. The Corellian ship zooms from Tatooine into space. Han frantically types information into the ship's computer. Little R2 appears momentarily at the cockpit doorway, makes a few beeping remarks, then scurries away. Looks like an Imperial cruiser. Our passengers must be hotter than I thought. Try and hold them off. Angle the deflector shield while I make the calculations for the jump to light speed. The Millennium Falcon races away from the yellow planet Tatooine. It is followed by 2 huge Imperial Star Destroyers. Over the shoulders of Chewbacca and Han, we can see the galaxy spread before them. Luke and Ben make their way into the cramped cockpit, where Han continues his calculations. Stay sharp, there are 2 more coming in. They're going to try and cut us off.
Why don't you outrun them? I thought you said this thing was fast.
Watch your mouth, kid, or you're going to find yourself floating home. We'll be safe enough once we make the jump to hyperspace. Besides, I know a few maneuvers. We'll lose them. Imperial cruisers fire at the Millennium Falcon. The ship shudders as an explosion flashes outside the window. Here's where the fun begins.
How long before you can make the jump to light speed?
It'll take a few moments to get the coordinates from the navicomputer. The ship begins to rock violently as lasers hit it.
Are you kidding? At this rate, they're gaining.
Traveling through hyperspace isn't like dusting crops, boy. Without precise calculations, we could fly right through a star or bounce too close to a supernova, and that'd end your trip real quick, wouldn't it? The ship is now constantly battered with laser fire as a red warning light begins to flash.
What's that flashing?
We're losing our deflector shield. Go strap yourself in, I'm going to make the jump to light speed. The galaxy brightens and they move faster, almost as if crashing into a barrier. Stars become streaks as the ship makes the jump to hyperspace. The Millennium Falcon zooms into infinity in less than a second. End of Act 1.
Yay!
I'm glad I had cough drops.
Yeah.
A lot of narration. I know that would be a menace being narrator, Vader and Han. God.
Or
All right,
at
bye
least we'll
everyone.
read another act.
Mm-hmm.
Farewell.
here.
Have a very good day.
You'll come back now, you hear?
Have a good time. Don't
Yeah,
get caught
good
by a
one,
lightsaber,
guys.
kids.